So I've drawn a business rules table for this diagram related to this event, the hospital requests an organ, but it has to be process specific, receiving a request. The questions we're going to ask are very precise. They're called the business rules questions and have to be in the context of this process. We might not use the word or the verb receive as long as the question we ask, the verb structure we use, represents this process. So let's see what we've got here. For a single specific hospital, how many organ requests might we receive from that hospital? Could we receive one? And our subject matter experts say, well, yeah, we sure could. We could receive one organ request from a single specific hospital. Might we receive several from that hospital, from that member hospital? And the answer is yes. Is it possible that we never receive any organ requests at all from that hospital? And once again, our subject matter experts say, yes, I'm going to put that zero there, meaning not none, but meaning never. Now, every time we have a zero meaning never, we have to ask the question, the follow-up question, the fourth one, which is, under what circumstance would it be true that we never get a request for an organ from a member hospital? And our subject matter experts will answer that question. They'll say, for example, well, just because they don't have a need for transplant organs, they're members, but through the life of the hospital, they never have a need. So we have to then, when we write up these rules have to be written up. You'll recall they have to be written up under the object hospital. So under the object hospital, we're going to have may submit one organ request, may submit several organ requests, may never submit an organ request. And behind the never, we have to have an example. For example, they never have a need for that. Now, that turns into an event. And the event in this case is a hospital does not request an organ. The hospital does not request an organ. Now, that event has to be added to our event list unless we felt we've already dealt with it in one of the diagrams that we do. Well, a hospital doesn't do something, we're not going to model something, in this case, something that doesn't happen, because if we look at this diagram again, here we have something that does happen. We get a request. Well, something that doesn't happen is the absence of that request. We don't really have to do anything in this particular case because there are no consequences to that. We don't have to do anything with it. Let's go on to the second part of the table. For a single specific organ request, this organ request here, how many hospitals might submit that organ request? Could be one, right? And only one. So we're going to put one in there, meaning one only. We can't get that single specific request, this one here, from several hospitals. They'd have their own request. Might be for the same kind of thing, but there'd be different requests. And we can't get from none. So here, that gets written up as a rule under organ request. Can only come from one single specific hospital. So that pretty well covers this first one. A hospital requests an organ. Pretty straightforward, nothing complicated at all. An interesting aspect of doing this kind of modeling, when we're not looking at how things happen, but what is required instead, an interesting part of it is that 90% of it, my experience, is very, very easy. 90% of it. 10%, not so easy, a little bit more complicated. We'll see at least one of those as we go along.